At 3 a.m., Cicely went into labor and discovered her husband was with another woman. Abandoned and betrayed, she fought to save her baby and her heart until Dr. Peter helped her rise, heal, and find real love again. This story reminds us betrayal may break your trust, but it cannot steal your future. Please support our channel with one like and one share, giving us motivation to create more stories. Thanks for watching.
At 3 in the morning, pain gripped her. She texted her husband to hurry, but his phone replied with a chilling message he was with someone else. Her world shattered in an instant. Welcome back to our family. May you find divine strength and peace that never fades away. You are the true heartbeat of love. May your homes be filled with joy and guided by grace. But family, why the silence? A simple like or comment breathes life into our community. It only takes a second to show you care. YouTube might try to hide us, but we shine together. This is Mission 1000 likes for unity and strength. If your heart is true, like this video. If your love is real, write I am with Mr. Peter. Waves of pain hit Cicely Carroll, pulling her under. She held her belly, hope twisting inside. She realized the world was much crueler than she had ever imagined. Rain pounded against the window, matching the chaos inside her. Every drop was a countdown to a life that would change forever. Samuel had kissed her hours ago, but his attention was elsewhere. His phone buzzed and he was gone. He used excuses about urgent documents and investors. She stopped questioning him because questioning felt like doubting. She had promised to trust him. Now that promise tasted like ash. A sharp contraction doubled her over. She gripped the yellow dresser she painted herself, the bright color suddenly feeling like a cruel joke. She had pictured Samuel here, both of them exhausted and happy to welcome their daughter. The crib waited with crisp white sheets and a mobile of stars. Her mother's rocking chair sat quietly by the window. She had stitched the name Hope onto cushions during his long absences. Everything felt like a stage set for a play she no longer understood. Another wave of pain hit, and she fumbled for her phone with trembling fingers. She typed, her vision blurring. Each word was an act of faith that was about to be destroyed. Her hands shook as she hit send, watching the delivery icon that used to bring her peace. She waited, trying to breathe through the pain. She had attended every class alone while Samuel was away for work. She sat among couples holding hands, hiding the hurt that her own husband was always somewhere else. Her phone stayed dark. Minutes felt like hours. She called, her heart pounding. It rang 3 times. Please, pick up, she thought. Tell me you are on your way. Tell me I am just imagining the distance. Tell me I am wrong about this sinking feeling. The ringing stopped. Someone answered. Samuel? Cicely asked, her voice cracking. But the voice that answered was not his. He is not available, the woman said. It was Vanessa, a colleague Cicely had welcomed into their home and helped mentor. She had given Vanessa advice on everything from work to professional growth. She had even trusted her with her own career struggles. That same woman had sent a thoughtful gift for the baby. Where is Samuel? Cicely asked, struggling through another contraction. I am in labor. Please, I need him. The silence that followed was heavy and cold. Vanessa spoke, her words cutting deep. Samuel asked me to call. He is done, Cicely. We have been together for a long time. He is building a future, and it is with me. You should handle the baby alone. It is cleaner that way. He has moved on, and you need to do the same. Cicely could not process the words. They were ugly, solid, and completely true. You are lying, Cicely whispered. Samuel wouldn't do this. We are having a baby. We are married. Vanessa laughed. Is that what you thought? Samuel has been planning this for months. The house is in my name, Vanessa added. You were just a chapter he is closing. Have the baby alone. We already have. The line went dead. Cicely stood frozen, her daughter kicking, born into a world where her father had vanished. Physical pain was nothing compared to the crushing weight in her chest. She could not breathe. She felt foolish for ignoring all those late nights and travel excuses she labeled as work stress. She remembered him smiling at his phone and coming home with a different scent. She had called herself paranoid. Now, her water broke, soaking the floor she had cleaned just yesterday. She looked down at the mess. She was terrified and alone. She scrolled through her contacts, skipping Samuel. She would never beg him for anything again. She found the one person who always answered, Jolene, her younger sister. They had fought, but Jolene was the only one who had warned her about Samuel in the beginning. Jolene picked up, her voice alert. Cece, what is wrong? The baby is coming, Cicely sobbed. Samuel is gone. He is with someone else. I cannot do this alone. You are not alone, Jolene promised. I am 10 minutes away. Do not move. Just breathe. Cicely slid to the floor, clutching her phone as if it were the only solid thing left in her world. Please hurry. I am scared, Cicely cried. You are the strongest person I know, Jolene said, running to her car. Tell me what happened. Cicely tried to explain through her tears and intense pain. Jolene listened, making promises that everything would be okay, even if they both knew the truth. I am in the car, Jolene said. Stay on the line. Do not hang up. Cicely listened to her sister's voice, finding the strength to hold on. Still, Vanessa's cold words haunted her. Samuel had planned this. Cicely was the last to know their marriage ended before the baby began. She made a silent promise on the nursery floor. Waters broke. Contractions gripped her. Samuel Pollard would never see her cry. He would never see her weak. He left when she needed him most, and that would be his biggest mistake. Hope kicked her ribs like a silent vow. When Jolene burst in, panicking, she found Cicely with her jaw set. Let's have this baby, Cicely said, voice steady. Let's show him what he is missing. Jolene helped her up, grabbed the bag Cicely packed when she still believed in Samuel, and guided her into the rain toward Memorial Grace Hospital. The drive was a blur of traffic and pain. Jolene talked about everything except Samuel, sharing childhood stories. Cicely refused to cry. Not even when a contraction hit so hard, she almost lost consciousness. Not when she finally said the truth out loud. Not even when nurses rushed her into the emergency entrance. Crying could wait. Right now, Cicely had a daughter to deliver with or without the man who broke his promise. She was on her own now. Someday Samuel would regret what he threw away. Chapter 2. The Doctor Who Stayed. Harsh delivery room lights turned everything into shadows. Cicely gripped the bed rails to push hope into the world. Every contraction reminded her she was doing this alone. Jolene held her hand, whispering words Cicely barely heard, but the empty space beside the bed felt cold, accusatory, and impossible to ignore. The pain was all-consuming. It made her understand why childbirth was so feared. But the emotional ache was worse, knowing she was bringing hope into a family that had shattered before the baby's first breath. We need more hands here, the nurse said. Her voice carried real worry. She is bleeding too much. Get someone from obstetrics. People rushed in, their urgency cutting through the pain. Something was wrong. Something beyond being abandoned, beyond her broken marriage. Her body was failing too. Apparently one tragedy was not enough. Cicely felt panic rising. She could not die, not when hope needed her. She was the only parent this child would ever have. Then a new voice cut through the chaos, calm and certain. I have her. Everyone breathe. Let me see what we are working with. Cicely's vision blurred, but she saw a man in scrubs moving with practiced speed. He took control like a conductor. Their eyes met for a second. I am Peter Baker, he said. I am going to help you deliver your daughter safely. His voice held no pity, just steady strength. It felt like an anchor. Can you tell me your name? Cicely gasped between contractions. "Cicely, Carol, I need you to trust me," Peter said. "Your body is working hard, but we need to work together. Can you do that?" She nodded. His direct gaze steadied her. He did not treat her like she was broken or tragic. He treated her like she was strong enough for the truth. "You are hemorrhaging," he said. "When I say push, you push with everything you have. We will get Hope here safely. You need to be strong for your daughter." "Understood," Cicely replied. Her voice did not shake. What followed was pain unlike anything she imagined. It carved away everything except the instinct to survive. Peter talked her through every single contraction. "Push, breathe, push again. You are doing beautifully, Cicely, almost there. I can see her head, she has dark hair like yours. One more. Give me a big push." Cicely bore down screaming, feeling something tear, but not caring. Hope needed to live. Then Hope arrived, screaming with healthy lungs. The most beautiful sound Cicely ever heard, perfect and covered in blood. Peter placed the baby on Cicely's chest. Their eyes met again. "You did it. She is here, and she is gorgeous. 10 fingers, 10 toes, and perfect lungs." Cicely looked at her tiny daughter, who fought her way into the world, and felt something crack open. Not breaking, but making room for a fierce love that left no space for Samuel. "Hello, Hope," she whispered through tears. "Hello, my girl. I am your mama, and you are enough for me. You will never wonder if you are loved." The team worked around her, monitoring blood loss while speaking in hushed tones. Cicely barely heard them, focused only on Hope's face and tiny fingers. She memorized every detail of the moment Samuel chose to miss. "Miss Carol," Peter said after a while. He had stepped back but remained nearby. "You lost a lot of blood, so we will keep you here for monitoring. But you and Hope will be fine. You fought hard." "Thank you," Cicely said. The words felt small. "You saved us. You saved yourself," he replied. "I just helped." He smiled and his face turned warm. Kindness lived behind his eyes. "Get some rest, I will check on you." But he did not just check once. He stopped by every hour, finding excuses to see if she was stable, if Hope was feeding, or if Jolene needed coffee. The attention felt excessive for a stranger. But Cicely was too exhausted to question it, Jolene noticed. When Peter left after his third visit, she raised an eyebrow. "That doctor is checking on you a lot. Like, a lot. He probably does that for everyone." Cicely shifted, wincing at the soreness. "I hemorrhaged," she said. "I am high risk. I just had a baby." "Sis, they do not check this much unless they are worried," Jolene said. Her voice softened. "I think he sees what I see. A woman who went through hell and is trying to act fine." "I am not fine," Cicely admitted, looking at her sleeping daughter. "I am so far from fine, but I have to be for her." "You do not have to be strong for anyone, baby sister. It is okay to fall apart. If I fall apart, I will never put myself back together," Cicely said. They sat in silence. When Peter returned late that night, Cicely was awake despite the exhaustion. Hope slept in the bassinet. Cicely stared at the ceiling, mind racing. Peter spoke softly. "I keep hearing her voice, telling me he has been done with me for months. I was blind and foolish." Cicely looked at him, exhausted. "Why are you here? Your shift ended hours ago." Peter pulled his chair closer. It felt like crossing a line between doctor and someone else. "I know that look. Trying to hold it all together, but you are not sure how." He hesitated. "My wife died giving birth 3 years ago. Her son died too. I was on duty. I could not save them." The confession hung there, raw and unexpected. "I am so sorry," Cicely whispered, her own pain fading. "That is unimaginable." "It was the worst night of my life," Peter said. "It still is. I threw myself into work, kept everyone away, and felt cursed. I became a machine, going home to an empty apartment." "Did anything change?" "No. I just got better at hiding it." He looked at her. "Until tonight. Delivering your daughter, watching you fight through pain and betrayal, I saw your strengths. If you need someone who understands when the world falls apart, I am here. Cicely felt tears slide down her face. I thought I would never trust anyone again. Samuel broke that part of me. He broke your trust, Peter said, his voice firm. Do not let him take that. You can be angry and fall apart. But do not let him convince you that you are broken. You are wounded. Wounds heal. They sat in silence. Peter asked nothing, just stayed while Cicely cried as dawn approached. Jolene arrived later with food, noticing everything but saying nothing. When Peter left, he squeezed Cicely's hand. You are going to survive this. I know it does not feel like it now, but you will. Someday this night will be the start of something better. Cicely felt something stir beneath her grief. Not attraction yet, but recognition. Finding someone who spoke the same language of loss, someone who understood healing, someone scarred but still kind. For the first time, Cicely felt she might survive. Maybe life after devastation was possible. Hope stirred, making hungry sounds. Cicely reached for her daughter, her hands steadying. Progress. Chapter 3. The slow return to living. Cicely moved into her mother's narrow row house. Sleeping in her childhood room, she felt the familiar scent of lavender, a memory of when she believed the world was good. The space was cramped, nothing like her suburban life. But it was offered with love. Then, on Hope's one-week birthday, Samuel's divorce papers arrived, destroying the tiny hope that he might come to his senses. Cicely was nursing when the doorbell rang. Jolene signed for the envelope with a scowl. Do not open it yet, she warned. Wait until you are strong. But Cicely was done waiting for Samuel. She was done being a victim. She opened the envelope while nursing. The terms felt like fresh poison. Samuel claimed everything they built over 7 years. The house was in Vanessa's name through refinancing Cicely knew nothing about. Her signature was forged. Joint accounts were drained months ago. He even demanded a DNA test for Hope, acting as if she were the unfaithful one. He planned this for months. Cicely's voice was hollow. Every smile, every touch while I was pregnant. He was already leaving. He was already with her. Dolores set her tea down hard, rattling the saucer. That man will regret this. I have seen women lose husbands to tragedy and rebuild with dignity. But a man who abandons his pregnant wife? That is not a man. That is a coward. Cowards get what they deserve.
I just want him gone, Cicely said, looking at her sleeping baby. I want to forget he ever existed. I want to pretend Hope came from nowhere. That she is just mine. Honey, you cannot forget 7 years, Dolores said, taking her hand.
But you decide your future. Do not let him take your ability to love or hope for better. Forgetting was impossible with lawyers involved. Calls about assets and timelines dragged on. Jolene spent nights digging through old emails to prove Cicely's hard work. The legal battle was a form of torture. What Jolene found was worse than they imagined. Cici, look at this, she said, her hands shaking. Samuel did not just leave. He systematically erased you, like you were just a problem to solve. The evidence was damning. Emails showed him changing shared passwords one by one. He told colleagues you were having a mental health crisis. There was documentation of the fake refinancing. Signatures were forged, money vanished into hidden accounts. But the worst was an email from 2 years ago. Samuel had a vasectomy reversal in secret, timing it with his affair because Vanessa wanted children. Hope was not the planned blessing Cicely thought. She was an accident, an inconvenience Samuel decided to abandon. Cicely held the papers, stunned by how the man who once wrote her poetry became such a monster. He never loved me, or maybe he did, and I just became an obstacle between him and what he wanted. She said it aloud, testing the words. She finally understood the truth. They tasted like ash and heartbreak. Stop that right now. Dolores pulled the papers from Cicely and wrapped her arms around her daughter. Don't you dare think you weren't worthy of love. You were everything a good wife should be. Loyal, kind, and strong. You built him up from nothing. You sacrificed your own dreams for his. He threw it away because he is fundamentally broken. That is not your failure, baby. It is his. Cicely finally broke down, sobbing into her mother's shoulder while Jolene held little hope, and Dolores whispered the same comforts from her childhood. She cried for the marriage she believed in, the man she thought Samuel was, and the future that vanished when Vanessa spoke. When the tears finally stopped, Cicely felt hollow, but also lighter. It was as if the crying had drained some of the poison, finally making room for something else. Not happiness yet, but maybe a glimmer of hope. "I need to get out of this house," she said, suddenly needing fresh air. "I want to feel normal again." Jolene offered to watch Hope, while Dolores insisted Cicely take some money to treat herself to a nice lunch. Cicely found herself driving toward Memorial Grace Hospital. She told herself she just wanted to walk through their famous gardens, and it had nothing to do with hoping to run into the doctor, who showed her such unexpected kindness. But she knew she was lying to herself. She needed to see Peter Baker again, someone who understood pain without pitying her. She found him in the hospital cafeteria during his lunch break, reviewing charts with intense focus. He looked exhausted, with dark shadows under his eyes, likely filling his hours with work to avoid a lonely home. His exhaustion made him feel more human than the composed doctor she first met. Cicely almost turned back. Then he looked up, and his face transformed with a smile so genuine it took her breath away. "Cicely." He stood up quickly, almost knocking over his coffee in the process. "How are you? How is Hope? Is everything okay?" "We are surviving," she said, feeling a bit foolish but unable to leave. "I was nearby and thought I would walk through the gardens. Everyone says they are beautiful." "They are," Peter said, gesturing to the chair across from him. "They are even better with company. Have you eaten yet?" She realized she was starving. They went through the line together, Cicely finally grabbing a real meal instead of the crackers she had been living on. Peter quietly paid for both their trays before she could even protest or feel embarrassed. They found a quiet table and talked about everything except the obvious. They argued over local sports, complained about the endless rain, and debated where to get the best cheese sticks. Their argument over local shops was so silly that they both started laughing with surprising ease. It felt shockingly normal. Cicely realized this was her first real conversation since Hope was born that did not involve lawyers, betrayal, or survival. She was just talking to a person about simple things, and it felt like medicine for wounds she did not know how to heal. "Thank you," she said, cutting off his defense of a local shop. "For what? For treating me like a person instead of a tragedy. Everyone looks at me with pity. I am so tired of being the abandoned wife and the cautionary tale." Peter put his sandwich down and looked at her with kind, steady eyes. "I do not pity you, Cicely. I admire you. What you are going through would break most people into pieces. Yet you are still standing, still caring for your daughter, and still showing up to life. That takes a level of strength most people never need to find." "I do not feel admirable," she said. "I feel stupid for missing the signs." "Love makes us hopeful, not stupid," he replied. "There is a huge difference between those two things." Peter paused, choosing his words carefully. "After my wife Catherine died, I blamed myself for not seeing the end coming. My colleagues had to explain that sometimes terrible things happen without warning. Beating yourself up for not predicting the unpredictable is just another form of self-torture that serves no purpose. How did you stop blaming yourself?" "I didn't. Not completely. But I started therapy and being honest about my struggle, instead of pretending I was fine. Slowly, I learned that I could live with the loss without letting it define my entire existence. He held her gaze. You are early in this journey, Cicely. It is okay not to be okay. It is okay to be angry and confused. Those feelings are a normal part of processing trauma. Cicely felt something loosen in her chest, like a knot she did not know she was carrying. Can I ask something personal? Anything. Why tell me about Catherine? You barely knew me. Peter was quiet, his expression thoughtful. When I looked at you, I saw the same look I had in my own mirror for 3 years. You looked like you were bracing yourself to survive the unbearable. I wanted you to know it is possible to come out the other side. You can survive what feels like a total destruction and still find joy again. I would like that, Cicely said, surprised by her own honesty. I want to believe I will not always feel this empty. You are not broken, you are healing. There is a big difference. Broken things stay in pieces. Healing things become stronger where they mended. Peter pulled out his phone. I would be honored if you called me whenever you need a reminder of that. Or just to talk about nothing. They exchanged numbers, feeling like they were crossing a line between doctor and patient, but the connection felt deeper. It was built on a shared understanding of profound loss and the mutual determination to survive. Their bond had nothing to do with medicine anymore. When Cicely left later, walking through the autumn gardens, she felt lighter than she had in weeks. It felt like she might actually survive Samuel's betrayal. Maybe survival was just the beginning, and maybe there was a road ahead that she could not quite see yet. There might be real happiness waiting instead of just endless grief. She drove home to hear Hope crying for her feeding. Cicely picked up her daughter with hands that did not shake nearly as much. It was only small progress, but for today it was enough. Chapter 4. The Comfort of Being Seen. Samuel's life with Vanessa was not the fairy tale he had imagined during those stolen afternoons. She was exciting as a secret, full of sharp edges and forbidden passion, making him feel like he was living in a movie instead of reality. But as his official partner, Vanessa was exhausting. She wanted expensive dinners he could not afford while lawyers drained his accounts. She made cutting comments about his car and his home, constantly comparing him to her ex-boyfriend, who apparently had much more money to spend. She demanded constant attention and got angry when he was tired from the stress of his divorce. The irony was not lost on Samuel. He had destroyed his marriage for a woman who was now making him miserable, replacing Cicely's quiet, steady support with nothing but constant criticism. His parents made their position clear when he introduced Vanessa at an upscale dinner he could not afford. His mother saw Vanessa's smug grin, stood up, and looked Samuel in the eye. "We are leaving," she said, her voice colder than he ever imagined. "I did not raise you to abandon a pregnant wife. I did not raise a cruel, calculating man. I do not recognize you anymore." His father's words cut deeper. "When you are ready to apologize to Cicely and meet your daughter properly, call us. Until then, we have nothing to say. You disgraced this family and everything we taught you." They left the restaurant without ordering. Samuel heard nothing from them, save for one brief text from his mother weeks later. "Your daughter was born healthy. Her name is Hope. She looks like Cicely. You missed it. I hope your gain was worth what you threw away." The rejection from his parents compounded the distance from colleagues and clients who loved Cicely. They felt personally betrayed by how Samuel had treated her. His reputation was crumbling, and Vanessa pushed him to move away, somewhere fresh where nobody knew his history. But Samuel could not leave. His lawyer warned him that moving during a divorce would look like fleeing, and Samuel still believed he could spin the narrative. He thought he could look less like the villain. He was wrong. He drove past the house one evening, telling himself he just wanted to see Hope. But as he sat in the dark watching the window, his chest tightened with something that felt like regret. Cicely sat in a rocking chair, surrounded by her mother and sister. The three women were laughing at something Jolene said, their faces bright with joy despite their cramped home. Cicely looked peaceful, even after everything Samuel had put her through. She looked beautiful in that unguarded moment, more radiant than Vanessa ever could, with her expensive makeup and calculated charm. Samuel drove away feeling hollow, unable to even explain to himself what he had hoped to accomplish by stalking them. Meanwhile, Cicely had no idea Samuel was watching her like a ghost. She was focused on the small miracle of Peter Baker becoming a natural part of her days. It started simply, with Peter texting to check on Hope's feeding schedule and weight gain. Cicely responded with gratitude, asking about the developmental milestones she had read about online. He sent articles that actually made sense, cutting through the usual internet noise. She sent him a picture of Hope sleeping, her tiny hands thrown up in surrender. He replied with a heart emoji that felt intimate despite the simplicity. The text became daily. Good morning wishes, funny hospital stories, and honest talks about Peter's own struggle with loneliness and purposelessness outside the medical world. Then Peter invited Cicely to dinner at his place, casual and low pressure. He insisted she bring Hope so she would feel safe. Cicely said yes before she could overthink it. His brownstone surprised her when she arrived with the baby and a fully packed diaper bag. She expected something sterile and modern, but found warm, creaky wooden floors. There were bookshelves full of worn paperbacks and a kitchen that clearly saw regular use. He had even set up a portable crib in the living room for the baby. He thought of everything, from burp cloths to fresh wipes, looking genuinely delighted when Cicely arrived. I was not sure what you would like, so I made 3 options, he said, gesturing to pasta, roasted chicken, and a healthy stir-fry. I tend to overthink when I am nervous. You are nervous, Cicely asked as she settled Hope into the crib. Why? Because you are here, and I want you to have a nice evening. I am terrified I will say something wrong or you will realize I am actually boring. Peter's honesty was disarming. I have not had anyone over who mattered in a long time. You matter, Cicely said softly. Peter said it with such certainty that she felt a shift in her chest, more than you probably realize. They ate by candlelight, talking about real things. Peter admitted he became a doctor to please his father and spent years chasing impossible expectations. He said Catherine's death made him realize life was too short to perform for others. He had been on autopilot ever since, just going through the motions. Cicely admitted she married Samuel because he made her feel special after she spent a lifetime feeling invisible. As the girl from the wrong side of town, she sacrificed her own ambitions to support his, thinking his dreams were more important than her own. She had wanted to be a writer before Samuel told her it was not practical. What kind of stories did you want to write? Peter asked with interest. Romance, she admitted, laughing at herself. Nothing fancy. Just stories that made people feel good. It sounds silly now, she said. It does not sound silly at all, Peter replied earnestly. The world needs stories about hope and love. What would you write now? After everything? I would write about women who survive betrayal and find themselves again. About second chances and learning to trust after everything was shattered. Cicely was surprised by her own passion. I would write stories where the heroine saves herself. You should write them, Peter said. The air between them shifted, charged with new possibility. Cicely felt it and was terrified, because she had been so wrong about Samuel that she could not trust her own judgment. I should go, she said, standing abruptly. Hope will need to feed soon, and I do not want to impose." "You are not imposing." "You could never impose," Peter said, moving closer. "Cicely, I need to tell you something without making you feel pressured." Her heart hammered against her ribs. "I am falling in love with you," he said, stating it like a simple, undeniable fact. "I know it is too soon, and I know you are still healing. I know I am probably the last complication you need right now. But pretending I do not feel this way would be dishonest. I promised myself I would never hide from the truth again. Life is too short to not be honest about what matters." Cicely stared at him, her mind unable to process the words. "You do not have to say anything back," Peter added gently. "I just needed you to know where I stand. I will respect whatever you decide, but I will also be here, hoping you choose to stay." Cicely did not use words. She closed the distance and kissed him, pouring months of grief and hope into the touch. Peter responded with such tenderness that tears sprang to her eyes. When they pulled apart, breathing hard, Cicely whispered, "I am terrified. I am scared of being wrong again, of trusting someone who will destroy me." "Me too." Peter kissed her forehead, her cheeks, the tip of her nose with gentle care. "Maybe we can be terrified together. Maybe fear hurts less when you share it with someone who understands." They did not go further that night. Hope woke up crying, breaking the spell, and the moment passed. Reality took over, with diapers and feeding schedules, and the endless demands of a new baby. Still, something fundamental had shifted. A door had opened to a future that neither of them wanted to close ever again. Later, Peter walked Cicely to her car. He carried the car seat, checking the straps with the careful attention of someone who genuinely cared. Cicely turned to him before getting in. "This feels too good to be true. Like I will wake up and discover you are another lie, another fantasy that shatters when real life hits. I am not a lie." Peter touched her face, his thumb tracing her cheekbone. "I am a man who lost everything he loved. I spent 3 years convincing myself I would never feel alive again. Then you walked into that delivery room, broken and fierce. Something inside me woke up that I thought had died with Catherine. You are not too damaged for this. You are brave enough, strong enough, perfect enough." She drove home with those words, warming her soul. Hope slept peacefully in the back. For the first time since that terrible call from Vanessa, Cicely finally imagined a future that held more than just surviving, maybe even genuine joy. A second chance at the happy ending Samuel had nearly ruined forever. Chapter 5. Learning to Trust Again. The next few weeks felt like learning to breathe underwater. It was unnatural and terrifying, but possible if you trusted your instincts and refused to panic. Peter became a constant presence. He was steady, which felt foreign after Samuel. He would show up at the house with dinner when he knew Cicely had been wrestling with lawyers all day. He brought food for the whole family, never expecting a thank you or any special treatment. He sent texts that made her laugh at unexpected times. He held Hope while Cicely showered, treating her daughter with a tenderness that made her heart ache. Jolene watched it all with approval, her protective instincts on high alert after seeing what Samuel had done to her sister. "He is good to you," she said, while folding endless laundry, the mountain of burlap cloths sitting between them. "Almost too good, honestly. I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop. I keep waiting for his true colors." "Do you think he is another Samuel?" Cicely did not even make it a question. "I think you have been hurt, and I am your sister. I am allowed to be paranoid for you. It is my job." Jolene softened, setting down a tiny onesie. "But truthfully, he does not set off my alarms. He seems like a decent man who cares. That scares me because now you have something real to lose." "That terrifies me too," Cicely admitted. With Samuel, there were warning signs I ignored. The late nights, the distance, the way he made me feel small. But with Peter, everything feels perfect, and I do not trust my judgment anymore. What if I am missing signs? What if I am just desperate for love? So go slow. Let him prove himself with actions, not just words. There is no rush to figure out your future. Jolene squeezed her hand. You are allowed to be cautious. You are allowed to protect yourself. Just do not let fear stop you from being open to something good. But slow felt impossible. Being with Peter made Cicely feel more alive than she had in years of marriage. They talked for hours about everything. His childhood in a wealthy home that valued achievement over affection, versus her working-class neighborhood where people shared every struggle. They bonded over old movies, bad jokes, and the smell of rain. Peter told her more about Catherine as he grew comfortable. He spoke of their quick marriage and how he loved her fiercely. He admitted he always lived with a secret fear of losing her, a fear that became a self-fulfilling prophecy he could not prevent. He opened up about that pain to Cicely. I blamed myself for months, he told her during a late-night phone call. Both of them could not sleep, their voices soft in the dark. I was in the hospital when she died. I was a doctor trained to save lives. Yet I could not save my own wife and son. The guilt nearly destroyed me. How did you survive it? Cicely asked, wanting to understand his journey through the pain. Therapy, he said. Lots of therapy and time. It sounds like useless advice, but it is true. Eventually, I accepted that I could not control everything. I am human, not God. He paused, his voice turning tender. Meeting you is part of my healing too. Seeing your strength makes me believe people are more resilient than we think. We can survive the unsurvivable if we keep breathing. I do not feel strong, Cicely whispered. I feel like I am barely holding it together. That is what strength looks like, Cicely. It is not the absence of struggle. It is continuing despite the pain. It is not never falling apart, but getting up every time you do. These conversations build trust between them, brick by careful brick, creating a foundation even her fear could not break. Yet physical intimacy was still a bridge. Cicely was not sure she could cross. The thought of being that vulnerable again, of letting someone see her body changed by pregnancy, and her heart scarred by betrayal, terrified her. It scared her more than she could say, until the night she decided to be brave. Peter invited her to dinner again. He gave her permission to arrive after Hope was asleep so she could stay the night if she chose. The implication was clear. Cicely drove to his apartment, her hands gripping the wheel tight, talking herself through waves of panic and anticipation the whole way there. Peter opened the door wearing a soft sweater that made him look approachable. His vulnerability somehow eased her nerves. He had cooked pasta from scratch, and the place smelled like garlic and fresh herbs. They ate by candlelight while rain drummed against the windows, creating a private cocoon away from the world. The conversation flowed easily. They talked about Hope, his medical cases, and her writing. After dinner, they washed dishes in a comfortable silence. Peter turned to her, his hands sudsy, and his expression honest. I do not have expectations for tonight. I want you to know that first and foremost. I invited you here because I wanted uninterrupted time with you, without the world making demands. But if you are not ready for anything beyond dinner and conversation, that is completely fine. More than fine. Your comfort and your consent matter more to me than any desire I might have. Cicely set down the dish she was drying and looked at him. She really looked at this man who was patient and kind. He saw her as a person, not an object. He made her feel safe in ways she had forgotten were possible. I am terrified, she said honestly. But I think I am ready to be terrified with you. I think I am ready to be brave. Peter dried his hands, then took hers and led her to his bedroom. They stood by the bed in the soft light. unsure how to begin after so much loss. "We can stop any time," he promised. "Say the word, and we stop immediately. No questions, no hurt feelings, no pressure. Your boundaries are sacred to me." She knew he meant it. That was the difference between Peter and Samuel. Peter saw her consent as a gift she could take back, not as a permanent right he owned. Their first time was tender and achingly beautiful. Peter asked permission before every touch, following her lead instead of his own agenda. When Cicely's hands shook while undoing buttons, he held them still and kissed her trembling fingers. She cried when he entered her, overwhelmed by emotion. He froze, worried, and asked if they should stop. She pulled him closer, needing this connection. She told him not to stop, that she had forgotten what it felt like to be treated as if she were precious. "You matter more than anything." Peter whispered it like a prayer, punctuating every word with kisses along her throat. They made love slowly, learning each other's rhythms. They laughed when elbows bumped and gasped when things felt just right. It was not the earth-shattering passion of romance novels, but it was real, honest, and deeply healing. These were two broken people, choosing vulnerability and connection, daring to hope again, even though they knew how much hope can hurt. Afterward, they lay tangled together while she listened to his heartbeat. Peter's voice rumbled through his chest as he thanked her for trusting him. He knew how difficult this must have been after everything she had survived. "It was hard," Cicely whispered, "but easier than she expected." She felt safe, like she could finally be herself, messy and scared, and he would still see something worth loving. Peter looked at her and said he saw everything worth loving. He praised her strength, her kindness, and the way she still laughed. Peter kissed her head and promised to stay until she believed in her own worth. They talked until dawn, sharing dreams for a future that finally felt possible. Peter wanted to be part of Hope's life in a meaningful way. Cicely felt inspired to write seriously again. Remembering the woman she was before Samuel forced her to be quiet and small to fit into his life. "You are not small," Peter said, kissing her temple. "You are vast. Don't ever forget that." When Cicely finally left, as dawn painted the sky gold, Peter walked her to her car and kissed her goodbye, like letting go was painful. He asked her to text him when she got home. Cicely drove through empty streets with her body humming from his touch. She felt lighter and more hopeful than she had since her life fell apart. She had taken a leap of faith and found something worth building. Soon her divorce settlement arrived with surprising results. Jolene's meticulous documentation of Samuel's fraud proved too solid for his legal team to fight. Cicely received a financial settlement that granted her genuine independence for the first time. Samuel was ordered to pay generous support for Hope. The house transferred to Vanessa was returned to the assets and sold, with proceeds split equally. It was justice. Jolene celebrated by taking Cicely to an expensive dinner. Both sisters laughed and cried over wine that tasted like victory. Jolene toasted her, saying she had survived the worst and actually won. "We did it," Cicely corrected, clinking her glass. She couldn't have managed without her sister and mother. Jolene asked about Peter with a knowing smile. Cicely blushed like a teenager experiencing her first real crush. Peter was wonderful, but she felt guilty for being happy while still processing her trauma. Jolene told her the marriage died, the moment Samuel chose cruelty over compassion. She was allowed to move forward and love again. Jolene squeezed her hand and told her not to let guilt steal her joy. But meeting Peter's family officially felt complicated. He warned her that Sunday dinners were a beloved tradition and a subtle interrogation. "They will," Peter promised as they drove to his childhood home. Hope was sleeping in her car seat. He told her if things got too intense she just needed to signal him, and they would leave. The house was elegant, filled with medical journals and family photos. It had the kind of understated wealth that came from generations of professional success, rather than sudden fortune. His mother, Eleanor, opened the door and pulled Cicely into a genuine, warm embrace. She said she was happy to finally meet her and joked that Peter would not stop talking about her. Eleanor adored Hope, holding her with practiced ease. Peter's father, Thomas, was more reserved but kind. He shook Cicely's hand with an assessing gaze, the look of a man who evaluated character for a living. Dinner started with tension. Cicely was nervous, worried about saying the wrong thing. But then Eleanor asked about her writing, and they ended up in a passionate discussion about romance novels. Despite Thomas's gentle teasing, Eleanor winked and said she had caught Thomas crying over a sappy movie last month. Thomas protested, but his lips twitched into a smile. When Peter's sisters arrived, the house filled with laughter and the chaotic energy of children. Cicely watched Peter hold Hope while helping his nephew with math. Her chest tightened with emotion. This was what a family was supposed to feel like: warm, accepting, and wanting her there. "You are valued here, exactly as you are." After dinner, Thomas asked Cicely to join him in his study. Her heart hammered with anxiety, worried he would question her suitability for his son. Instead, he poured them both a drink and sat down with serious intent. He explained that Peter had been merely going through the motions of living since his wife died, obsessed with work and isolated. He admitted he was initially skeptical about their relationship, fearing Peter was just filling a void. Cicely nodded quietly, her hands tight around her glass, telling him she understood those concerns completely. "I worry about those things too. But tonight, seeing him laugh and really participate in life, I understand. You did not just fill a void. You reminded him that living is worth the risk of loving. That is a gift. He did the same for me." Cicely felt tears. "He showed me that betrayal does not define my capacity to love. Life does not wait for perfect timing." Thomas set his glass down. "If you both choose each other with open eyes, you have my support. Welcome to the family, Cicely." She felt overwhelmed by a kindness that seemed almost impossible. Later, after saying goodbyes, Peter drove them toward his apartment. Cicely did not question it. She felt the same need for connection. Once inside, they came together with an urgency that had been building. All evening, Peter backed her against the door, kissing her deeply. His hands roamed her body with new confidence. "I love you," he said against her lips. No hesitation. "I love you so much it scares me, because I know what losing everything feels like. I love you too." Cicely pulled his shirt off, certain that this man was truly hers. "Take me to bed, Peter. Make me forget everything except this moment, everything except us." Their lovemaking was different now. Less tentative and more passionate. Peter mapped her body as if memorizing every mark, whispering praise that made her feel genuinely beautiful. Cicely was bold, initiating touches she never tried with Samuel. She laughed with delight when they fumbled and gasped when things got intense. "Tell me what you want," Peter whispered, his voice rough with desire as he moved with her. "I want to give you everything." Cicely arched against him, pulling him closer. "You, just you. Exactly like this." They climbed toward release together. Peter's name was a prayer on her lips as the pleasure finally crashed over her. He followed moments later, trembling as he buried his face in her neck. Afterward, tangled in warm sheets, Peter traced patterns on her shoulder. "I want you to move in with me. You and Hope. I want to wake up to you and come home to you every night. I want to be a father to Hope in every real way. Bedtimes, scraped knees, the first day of school." Cicely gasped. "That is a big step. I know. If it is too soon, I understand. But I am certain about you and our future.
No pressure, no timeline, just know the offer stands. She thought about her cramped room at her mother's house and that temporary life. Then she thought about Peter's apartment, which already felt like home. She thought about his steady kindness. Yes, she said before she even realized it. I want to move in. I want to build a life with you.
I want Hope to know you as her father from the start. Peter's smile could have lit up the whole city. He kissed her reverently. We are really doing this. His voice held pure and fierce. We are choosing each other because we know what it means to lose everything, Cicely said. We are brave enough to appreciate what we are building. We do not take love for granted anymore. They made love once more, slow and sweet, promising a future that finally felt solid. When they fell asleep with Hope nearby, they both felt like they had finally come home after years of being lost. Chapter 7. Dangerous Desperation. Samuel's world had collapsed. His house was sold, his money seized for back taxes. Vanessa left him for his former friend, a betrayal that would have been ironic if Samuel was not too crushed to care. His parents stopped taking his calls. His friends vanished, fearing his scandal would hurt their reputations. He lived in a mildewed studio apartment, working a soul-crushing sales job just to pay his bills. Everything he built over 15 years was gone, destroyed by his own choices. But what kept him up at night was hearing that Cicely had moved on. She was living with someone new, and Hope called another man father. Photos showed Cicely radiantly happy, glowing in ways she never did with him. He had thrown his marriage, his career, and his reputation away for an affair that lasted less than 6 months. He realized she had just used him. The regret was suffocating. Samuel started driving past her old house, then realized she was gone. After some desperate stalking, he found she had moved to a nicer neighborhood. He sat in his car for hours, watching her new life through lit windows like a movie. He saw her laughing with a man who held Hope with obvious love. They cooked and danced together in the kitchen. They put the baby to bed with a routine that showed real partnership. Watching them on the couch, comfortable and intimate, made his stomach turn. Jealousy was like acid. He showed up at their door, buzzing insistently. His heart pounded, hoping Cicely might see him and remember the past. But Peter opened the door. Samuel felt instant hatred for the man who replaced him. Peter looked at him with calm, firm assessment. "Can I help you?" Peter's voice was polite but authoritative. "I am Samuel Pollard. I am here to see my daughter." Samuel tried to sound confident, but he sounded desperate. "Hope's father is me, through legal adoption. You are the biological parent who abandoned her and hasn't called in months," Peter said, his voice like steel. "You have no rights here. You are not welcome." "I have rights. She is my blood." "No." Cicely appeared behind him. She looked strong and completely out of reach. "You gave up your rights," she said. "When you let Vanessa answer my call while I was in labor. When you signed those papers. When you chose cruelty over decency." "Please," Samuel said, his voice cracking. "I made mistakes. I get it now. I am trying to make amends. I want to be in Hope's life. I want to fix this." Cicely stayed cold and steady. "There is no fixing this. You did not just leave, Samuel. You planned your exit for years. You erased me from my life on purpose. You made me doubt my sanity. You abandoned your daughter before she was born. Those were choices that show exactly who you are. I have changed and lost everything. Does that count? I do not care." Her indifference stung more than any scream. "I do not care if you have changed or suffered. That is not my concern. I am busy protecting my daughter from people like you, and you are at the top of that list." Peter put a hand on her shoulder. "You need to leave. If you show up here again, we will file for a restraining order. You will not get within 100 yards of this family. Who are you to tell me anything?" Samuel finally snapped. You have known her for months. You do not get to play father. I am the man who held her hand through the birth you missed. Peter remained calm. I am the man who has been there for every feeding and every milestone you chose to ignore. I am the man she trusts with her heart and her child. Now, goodbye, Samuel. The door shut in his face. He stood on the porch, crushed. He heard voices inside. Cicely was crying, but not because of him. Peter was comforting her. Hope was giggling nearby. It was the sound of a family he had destroyed. Inside, Peter held her while she shook. I am sorry. Peter kissed her hair, his voice rough with anger. I am sorry he showed up and ruined your peace. Do not be sorry, she said. I needed that. I needed to see him and feel nothing but relief. She touched Peter's face. I needed him to see what he threw away. They held each other in the entryway. Then Hope called out from her crib. They went to her together. Peter picked her up while Cicely stroked her hair. Dada. Hope patted his face and his eyes welled up. That is right, sweetheart. I am your Dada, and I am never leaving you. I promise. Later, after Hope slept, Peter and Cicely found comfort in each other. Their love was fierce and real. They needed to prove it was unshakable. You are mine. Peter whispered against her skin. Say it. I need to hear it. I am yours, she gasped. Only yours. Forever. They climbed toward a peak, hearts racing as they finally found peace. Marry me, Peter said suddenly. I do not want to wait. I want you to be my wife. I want to legally be Hope's father. I want the world to know you are mine. Joy exploded in her chest. Yes, I will marry you. They sealed the promise with kisses and plans for a bright future together. Miles away, Samuel sat in his dark apartment, staring at old photos. He finally understood the cost of his choices. He traded everything real for something temporary. Now he had nothing but regret that tasted like poison. Chapter 8. The Path to Happiness. The proposal was not a movie scene, no flash mobs or cameras, just them in the apartment after Hope fell asleep. Peter took her hand and said he wanted to spend his life loving her and their daughter. He gave her a family heirloom ring. His mother had told him to use it only when he was truly certain. I am certain, Peter said, sliding it onto her finger. It fit perfectly. I have never been more sure of anything. They called their families, bursting with joy. Elana cried on the phone, saying she had prayed for this. Dolores arrived 20 minutes later with champagne and Jolene. Everyone laughed and cried. The celebration was small, intimate, and perfect. It was the kind of joy you only find against the odds. But joy always comes with complications. A letter arrived from the hospital ethics board. Someone had filed an anonymous complaint. They claimed Peter violated professional boundaries by dating a patient. Peter told Cicely it was routine. He had documented everything perfectly. Their relationships started long after she left his care. Still, the investigation made him stressed, withdrawn, and short-tempered. He snapped over little things like dishes, then retreated into silence. It reminded her of Samuel. Talk to me, she said one evening after he had been quiet for hours. Tell me what is wrong. I am terrified of losing my medical license, Peter admitted, his voice raw. I spent my life building this career. One complaint could destroy everything I have worked for. Without medicine, I do not know who I am. You are the man I love, Cicely said, taking his face in her hands. You are a father in every way that counts. Your career does not define your worth. You do. Your kindness and integrity define you. What if being with me costs you everything? What if you are better off without me? Stop that right now, she said, kissing him. I am not better off without you. I am better with you, complications and all. We will get through this together. They started couples counseling to learn how to handle the stress without shutting down. The therapist helped Peter see his fears. He felt like he had failed his first family by not saving Catherine, and he feared failing Cicely now. You are not failing, she said gently. You are human. That is not failure. That is life. What matters is showing up and choosing each other. The ethics hearing arrived on a gray, somber afternoon. Peter presented his case with complete clarity. He only knew Cicely after she was discharged. He kept a journal of their first coffee and dinners to prove their relationship was entirely ethical and above board. The board deliberated for hours while they waited, shaking.
The verdict? No violation.
Still, they warned Peter to maintain clear professional boundaries, with patience and their families moving forward.
Pure relief. Peter pulled Cicely into his arms in the hallway, holding her tight. I thought I would lose everything, he whispered. I feared loving you would cost me my entire identity.
But they survived. Cicely looked at him with fierce love. We choose each other every day, through the easy and the hard. That night, after family celebrations, they appreciated their safety together. Their time together was slow, tender, and devoted. Peter worshipped every inch of her. When he finally entered her, the emotional intensity brought tears to her eyes. I love you so much. He moved with agonizing slowness. I love your strength, your kindness, and the way you laugh at my jokes. I love how you cherish hope with your whole heart. I love it all, every part of you.
Show me,
she whispered, pulling him closer. He did afterward. They lay tangled in the dark, feeling like they had passed a crucial test and come out stronger. Let us set a date, Cicely said. I want to be your wife officially.
Spring, Peter suggested, tracing her shoulder. In the hospital garden where we first really started to connect. Perfect. They planned a small, intimate ceremony with just family and close friends. No showy production. Eleanor helped with flowers and catering. Everything felt right and focused on their genuine bond.
Dolores handled the dress. Jolene managed the logistics with sharp precision. Meanwhile, Peter started formal adoption for Hope. Samuel, broken and defeated, finally signed the papers when they arrived by mail. His lawyer warned him that fighting was expensive and futile. He had abandoned his rights when he left Cicely in labor. Giving hope to the man who actually stayed was his only move. Samuel signed with a heavy pen. Each stroke admitted he had destroyed the most important thing in his life. No redemption here. Spring arrived with cherry blossoms and the promise of new beginnings. Hope's adoption was finalized on a beautiful morning. The universe felt like it was celebrating their official family. Peter cried in the courthouse, holding his daughter and thanking Cicely for her trust. They framed the certificate and hung it near photos of their blended family. Cicely glowing with happiness, Peter looking at her with wonder and Hope grinning. They were loved by everyone around them. The final weeks were joyful chaos. Cicely wrote her vows at night, trying to capture how Peter brought safety, passion, and growth into her life. It was a love that defied simple words. Peter struggled with his vows too. He wanted to show how she saved him from half-living. She reminded him that love was worth the risk and that second chances were very real. They chose the hospital garden for an evening ceremony. It was the same spot where their relationship shifted from doctor and mother to something meaningful. The irony was not lost on them. Tradition kept them apart the night before. Peter stayed at his parents' house. Cicely stayed with Hope, surrounded by Dolores and Jolene, who turned the night into a fun, classic slumber party. Are you nervous? Jolene asked. Terrified, Cicely admitted. Not about Peter, but about whether I deserve this happiness. Whether the universe will let me keep it. Stop that right now, her sister replied. Jolene grabbed her hands. You deserve every bit of this. You survived betrayal that would have broken others. You rebuilt your life from nothing and raised Hope alone until Peter stepped up. You chose bravery over hiding. You deserve this. I just keep waiting for the other shoe to drop, Cicely said. Jolene nodded. Life is brutal, but you two have the tools to survive it. This is different from Samuel. Peter shows up. He stays when things get hard. He chooses you with actions, not just words.
Marry this good man and let yourself be happy, Cicely. Cicely nodded through tears. Across town, Peter had a similar talk with his father. Catherine would have loved Cicely deeply, Thomas said quietly.
It was the first time he mentioned her. She would be happy you found someone who makes you smile, he added. I feel guilty sometimes, Peter admitted. Like I am betraying Catherine by being this happy. Is that wrong? Love is not finite, son. Loving Cicely does not erase what you felt for Catherine. Your heart is big enough for both. Catherine is gone, but you are alive. You are allowed to live. She would have wanted that for you. Peter spoke softly, his voice thick with emotion. I really needed your blessing. The wedding morning was crisp and beautiful. It was warm enough for an outdoor ceremony, but perfectly comfortable. Cicely woke early to the sound of Hope babbling, feeding her daughter as the sunrise washed their bedroom in shades of gold and pink that felt like a sign. By the afternoon, the apartment was a whirlwind of activity that somehow stayed organized. Dolores steamed the wedding gown with focused care. Jolene did Cicely's makeup with an artist's touch. Eleanor arrived with breathtaking flowers. Baby Hope was passed between two doting grandmothers, who had become best friends through their children's bond. When Cicely stepped into her simple, elegant ivory gown, the room went quiet. She looked beautiful and effortless. Oh, honey, Dolores whispered, pressing a hand to her mouth as tears fell. You look like an absolute angel. Peter is going to lose his mind when he sees you, Jolene added, grinning through her own tears. This is perfect. You are perfect, Hope. Wearing a tiny white dress with fresh flowers in her curls, clapped and cheered. Mama! Pretty! Everyone laughed and cried at once. They arrived at the hospital gardens just as the sun began to dip, lighting everything in that magical golden hour glow that photographers love. The guests sat in a small semicircle around an arbor filled with climbing roses and wisteria. The guest list was tiny. Peter's family, Dolores, Jolene, a few close friends from work, and some of Cicely's cousins who had reached out to support her after the divorce. Peter stood by the arbor in a dark suit, looking handsome and open, with his brother by his side. When he saw Cicely walking toward him, carrying Hope, refusing to be walked down the aisle by anyone else, choosing instead to carry her daughter into their new life, his face lit up with such pure love that the crowd gasped. Cicely reached him and handed Hope to Eleanor, who sat in the front row. Then Cicely took Peter's hands. She looked at the man who helped her rebuild after Samuel and showed her what real love was. Their friend, a hospital chaplain, began with beautiful words about second chances and choosing to love despite the risks. Then came the vows. Peter started with a steady voice. Cicely, when we met, I was barely living. I spent 3 years just going through the motions. Then you showed up in your darkest moment, bleeding and abandoned, but still so fierce. Your strength and your refusal to let betrayal break you reminded me why life matters. You did not save me, but you reminded me I could save myself. You gave me permission to hope again, to believe that joy and pain can exist together. I promise to honor your strength every single day. I promise to show up for you and Hope without fail. I promise to cherish you and love you with everything I have for the rest of our lives. You are my second chance, and I will spend my life earning that gift. Cicely was already crying, and when she spoke, her voice trembled but stayed strong. Peter, you met me when I was shattered, and you never acted like I needed fixing. You saw my wounds and my strength, and you loved both. You showed me that real love is not a control, but a true partnership where we choose each other every single day. You have loved my daughter like she was your own from the start. Watching you become her father has been my greatest joy. I promise to trust you with my heart even when I am scared. I promise to be brave enough to let you see all of me, the broken parts and the beautiful ones. I promise to choose you, to build our life, and to love you for as long as I live. You gave me back my belief in happy endings. Let us write our own for the rest of our lives. The chaplain pronounced them married, and Peter kissed Cicely like a man who had finally reclaimed everything he once thought was lost. The small group cheered. Hope clapped along, not quite sure why. Everyone was laughing and crying, celebrating two people who had survived their worst nightmares to find each other. The reception in a private hospital room was perfect, filled with great food, music, and toasts that touched everyone's heart. Thomas gave a moving speech about seeing his son come back to life. Dolores spoke of her daughter's incredible resilience. Jolene roasted them both, while crying, keeping the room in stitches. Peter and Cicely shared their first dance to a song about finding home in another person. Halfway through, Peter took Hope from Eleanor's arms and danced with his new wife and daughter. They swayed together while their families watched, filled with nothing but love. As the night ended and guests left with warm hugs, Peter pulled Cicely close and whispered with raw desire, "Ready to start forever, Mrs. Baker. I have been ready since the night you delivered Hope and looked at me like I was strong." Cicely kissed him, tasting champagne and promises. "Let us go home." They left early, leaving Eleanor and Dolores with Hope, so they could have their wedding night alone. Peter carried Cicely over their threshold, and once the door closed, they were finally alone. Their love was celebratory and tender, full of the passion of two people who had fought through hell to be together. It was everything a wedding night should be. They took their time, exploring each other like it was both the first time and the 1,000th. They whispered promises between kisses that tasted like champagne and forever. "I love you more than I thought possible," Peter said over and over as they moved together in perfect harmony. "I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you too, with everything I am." Cicely breathed as the pleasure built. "Forever, I love you forever." They reached the peak together, calling out each other's names, and eventually lay tangled in the sheets, feeling completely at peace. They both felt like they had survived every struggle just to reach this perfect moment. "We did it," Cicely whispered, tracing patterns on his chest. "We made it through the worst and came out whole. We did more than just survive." Peter kissed her head. "We built something beautiful from the ruins. This is just the start of our story." The honeymoon in the Caribbean was exactly what they needed. 7 days of sun, turquoise water, sleeping in, and completely disconnecting from the world. They video called Hope every day. They missed her, but they knew they needed this time to bond as a married couple. They returned home to an apartment that finally felt like theirs. Hope seemed to have grown so much in just 1 week. Maybe it was just their perspective that had shifted, making life feel so much more precious. Everything settled into a rhythm that felt perfect. Peter returned to the hospital with new energy, excited to come home to Cicely and Hope each evening. Cicely began writing again, using Hope's nap times to work on stories about survivors and second chances. Her first manuscript was honest and raw, and Peter encouraged her to send it to agents. Dolores and Eleanor became the best of friends, joining book clubs and spoiling Hope every chance they got. Jolene started dating a kind lawyer. He was steady and made her laugh. Months turned into years. Hope grew from a toddler to a talkative child, calling Peter Dada with total certainty. They bought a house with a backyard for her to play in. They painted her room together, already dreaming of more children. Cicely sold her book to a small publisher. Holding that finished copy, she wept, feeling like she had finally reclaimed herself. Samuel had once demanded she give up her writing, but now she was thriving. Peter threw a huge launch party to celebrate the woman she had fought to become. They rarely thought about Samuel. He had become just a sad cautionary tale. Cicely heard rumors through friends that he moved far away. He had lost everything and was struggling to rebuild a life that looked nothing like his past. Cicely felt only relief that he was nowhere near hope. One evening, years after their wedding, she and Peter watched their daughter chasing fireflies in the dusk. Cicely was pregnant again. Peter asked quietly, "Do you ever wonder where we would be if Samuel had not destroyed your first marriage?" Sometimes Cicely leaned into him. "But honestly, I am grateful he did. It led me straight to you. Not grateful for the pain, just the outcome. I wonder if Catherine would approve of us." Peter rested his hand on her bump. "I choose to believe she would be happy you are not mourning alone." "I think Samuel is the one spending his life mourning what he threw away," Cicely said softly. "I hope he finds some peace, but that is not my problem anymore. My focus is our family." Hope ran over to them, laughing, with grass stains all over her knees. Peter kissed her forehead and held her close. Cicely watched them both with deep contentment. Later that night, after tucking Hope into bed, Peter and Cicely shared the quiet, easy intimacy of two people who truly knew each other. There was no rushing, just steady love. "I love our life," Cicely whispered against his shoulder. "The mundane mornings, the hard days, and all the beautiful moments in between." "Me too," Peter said, pulling her closer. "I love you and I love Hope. I love this baby growing inside you. We are building our future brick by brick." They fell asleep tangled together, knowing they had survived their worst nightmares and created something beautiful. Meanwhile, far away, Samuel sat alone in a small apartment, staring at old photos of the life he ruined. He thought about her laugh and the first ultrasound photos. He had thrown it all away for something temporary. Now it was far too late. He finally understood he had everything worth having, but he had been too blind to see it until it was gone. He had broken her trust with such cruel intentions that there was no coming back, no forgiveness for someone like him. His regret was total, but it meant nothing to Cicely and Peter. Their happiness did not rely on his pain, and his misery could not touch their joy. Back in Philadelphia, in a house full of love, Cicely Baker fell asleep in her husband's arms. Their daughter was safe nearby, and Cicely was finally free from the man who tried to break her. She had survived. She had truly thrived, finding her happy ending against all odds. That was the greatest victory of all. Living so fully that the person who tried to destroy you becomes irrelevant. He was just a small footnote in a story that was always meant to have a beautiful ending.